Ukrainian jets devastate Pantsir column and Azovka Bridge, crippling Russia with $650 million losses. Today, Ukraine delivers a single, precise strike that reshapes the entire southern battlespace, erasing a Russian air defense convoy and collapsing the Azovka Bridge in a chain reaction so powerful it drives total Russian losses to around $650 million. What begins as a Russian attempt to reposition a fully loaded Pantsir-S1 column turns into a catastrophic miscalculation, exposing the danger of massing high explosive systems on an aging bridge already carrying structural risk. The destruction of the bridge, the loss of the convoy, and the collapse of Russia's operational plan unfold in minutes, not hours. To understand how this moment became inevitable, the story must return to the earliest decision that set it in motion. At 4:10 a.m., the first quiet choice that would soon shake an entire sector had already been made. For several weeks, Ukraine had tried to open a limited humanitarian corridor, proposing controlled civilian cargo movement across the Azovka Bridge, a 1.6-mile inland artery cutting through a narrow valley. For Ukraine, this was a pressure valve, a stabilizing measure, a way to reduce escalation and protect local communities. The Kremlin rejected the plan decisively. The refusal did not remain purely diplomatic. Shortly afterward, Russian leadership issued an operational directive that surprised even some senior officers. A full 22-vehicle Pantsir-S1 column would move across the Azovka Bridge to help prepare renewed offensive action toward Kherson. The move was presented as a routine redeployment, but in practice it signaled a decision to prioritize offensive posture over any prospect of de-escalation. By 4:32 a.m., the convoy was already rolling. 6 Pantsir-S1 launchers formed its central spine. 4 radar control vehicles followed, feeding data to 2 mobile command trucks. 10 ammunition carriers brought up the rear, heavily loaded with 57 E-6 surface-to-air missiles, more than 14,000 rounds in total. If every missile warhead detonated at once, their combined explosive potential would approach 18 tons of TNT, more than enough to turn the bridge deck into a sustained firestorm. Under that weight, the steel structure shuddered slightly, but Russian crews saw it as nothing unusual. They believed Azovka Bridge, buried deep inside territory they controlled and surrounded by rugged, winding valleys, placed them far outside the reach of surprise Ukrainian strikes. The isolation they trusted as protection was, in reality, the factor that made the bridge an ideal trap. Ukrainian surveillance confirmed the Russian mobile air defense convoy was fully exposed and concentrated on the elevated bridge at its midpoint, a high-value target in an ideal ambush location. With the enemy at its most vulnerable, Kyiv executed the planned operation. By 4:47 a.m., Ukraine put its response into motion. 2 F-16 Block 50 fighters lifted from a forward base, dropping quickly into the valleys to stay masked from long-range radar. On the bridge, the Pantsir convoy remained in transit mode. Radars were powered but not actively scanning. There was no target acquisition, no tracking, no situational awareness. The very systems designed to detect threats were effectively blind. At 4:55 a.m., the lead F-16 climbed just enough to confirm the target visually. Below, the formation lay stretched bumper to bumper across the bridge, locked into a confined corridor that offered no escape. Once the picture was clear, authorization to strike followed at once. 2 GBU-39 glide bombs precisely struck the target. The first hit a radar control vehicle, destroying its antenna and armor. The second impacted an ammunition carrier, causing a rapid chain reaction. Missile canisters ruptured, fuel ignited, and high-explosive warheads detonated sequentially. This thermal surge exceeded 2,000 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt structural steel. Within seconds, a vertical column of fire and debris rose more than 200 feet above the bridge. The shockwave shattered windows in a village nearly 2 kilometers away. In less than 10 seconds, all 22 vehicles, launchers, radar units, command trucks, and ammunition carriers had been reduced to burning wreckage. From Ukraine's command perspective, the strike was the result of careful planning and timing. From the Russian side, the destruction appeared almost instantaneous, leaving no meaningful opportunity to react. At 4:56 a.m., the nature of the incident shifted again. What had started as the destruction of a convoy turned into a structural crisis for the Azovka Bridge itself. Later engineering analysis would estimate that the combined detonations released energy equivalent to roughly 11 tons of TNT, a massive blast more typical of an industrial accident than a single bridge crossing. Flames raced along the deck, consuming guardrails, liquefying asphalt, and exposing the steel beneath. Load-bearing components designed to carry heavy traffic began to warp as thermal shock spread through the span. Yet the most critical damage was not visible on the surface. Deep inside the structure lay span 145, a central segment long recognized by bridge engineers as a point of concern. Over years of service, an aging support bearing and accumulated microfractures had created a vulnerability that remained manageable under normal conditions. Internal reports had flagged it, and reinforcement had been recommended, but the work had not been completed before the war shifted priorities. Under the sudden combination of extreme heat, dynamic blast forces, and the removal of balanced loading, the microfractures expanded at speed. A sharp metallic crack sounded across the valley as the primary support beam bent downward nearly 40 centimeters in seconds. The roadway above sagged, tore, and began to fail. At 4:57 a.m., structural failure became irreversible. A section nearly the length of a football field separated from its connections, shearing away from bolts and support joints before dropping into the valley floor. Burning vehicles plunged down with it, detonating again on impact as remaining fuel and scattered warheads ignited. Secondary explosions rippled through missile racks and ruptured tanks. The bridge itself was effectively destroyed in under 2 minutes from the first detonations, but the consequences continued for several minutes more. For several more minutes, the valley echoed with further blasts as leftover ammunition cooked off, creating the sound and appearance of a rolling artillery barrage. When the smoke finally thinned, Azovka Bridge no longer functioned as a crossing. What remained was a skeletal frame of twisted steel and charcoal black concrete. A route that once carried 3,000 tons of supplies per day had been removed from the network in a single, tightly sequenced engagement. Inside that destruction lay a clear financial picture. The convoy, including its Pantsir launchers, radar vehicles, command trucks, and missile stocks, was valued at roughly $230 million. The collapse and structural damage to the bridge itself added an estimated $420 million in reconstruction and repair needs, pushing total losses in this single operation to around $650 million. By 5:02 a.m., Russian command posts across the southern sector were receiving fragments of data rather than coherent reports. Thermal anomalies, radar silence, sudden loss of communications. The convoy's network had gone dark in seconds. When updated satellite imagery and overhead reconnaissance feeds arrived minutes later, the scale of the incident could no longer be minimized. The southern air defense grid had just lost about 11% of its mobile interceptor strength assigned to that operational sector in a single strike. There were no surviving vehicles and no meaningful salvage prospects. Units that had expected to rely on Pantsir cover for upcoming operations now found themselves exposed, and plans for renewed offensive action toward Kherson were placed on hold. Emergency response units tried to close in on the site, but conditions around the collapsed span made access difficult and dangerous. Temperatures near the core of the blast zone remained above 600 degrees Celsius, hot enough to damage protective gear and destroy electronics. Reconnaissance drones sent ahead were lost to ongoing ammunition cook-offs, their final transmissions capturing explosions erupting every 12 to 18 seconds. The area around the bridge resembled a sustained industrial fire rather than a conventional battlefield impact. Russian commanders immediately sought explanations for the convoy's destruction, suggesting sabotage or new Ukrainian long-range weapons. However, overhead imagery confirmed the attack matched F-16 launched GBU-39 glide bomb signatures. The strike utilized a known capability, but its effective deployment against a high-value target on that specific route was unexpected by Russian planners. At 5:06 a.m., while Russian systems struggled to restore a coherent picture of the airspace, the Ukrainian F-16S were already executing the second phase of their task, a clean withdrawal. They banked westward and descended back into valley cover, maintaining military power without afterburner to reduce their heat signatures. Their disappearance was supported by electronic measures on the ground. Ukrainian signals teams flooded Russian receivers with decoy transmissions, ghost aircraft tracks, and scrambled coordinates, diverting attention and complicating target recognition. By the time Russian radar coverage partially recovered, the strike aircraft were beyond effective detection range. Moments later, reports confirmed that both aircraft had landed safely, and the operations center recorded the mission as complete with no losses. The mission had achieved its objectives without losses. The morning after the strike, the key inland supply route was cut. The central span of the Azovka Bridge had collapsed. Engineers estimated 4 to 6 months for partial restoration, with full reconstruction being more likely. The loss of the bridge, plus the destruction of the Pantsir convoy, meant that Russian artillery on the southern axis was now vulnerable to increased Ukrainian drone and precision munition attacks, lacking its mobile air defense cover. Following the opening, Ukrainian FPV drone teams quickly targeted and destroyed 9 trucks and 2 command shelters near logistics hubs, now unprotected by Pantsir. This forced a Russian supply route realignment 85 kilometers east, causing up to 14-hour delays for fuel and ammunition. Several battalions received under 40% of their usual resupply, leading to severe morale strain, officer disagreements, and soldier disbelief over the rapid failure of a supposedly secure route. International monitoring stations later logged the Azovka explosions as among the largest non-nuclear detonations recorded in that period, detectable from nearly 92 kilometers away. Analysts outside the region emphasized an important distinction. The shock did not come from the fact that Ukraine had struck a high-value target. It came from the way Russia had allowed so much combustible equipment, ammunition, and structural vulnerability to converge on a single bridge without adjusting its risk calculations or defensive posture accordingly. By midday, one conclusion was shaping military briefings on both sides of the front. The loss of the Azovka Bridge did not simply interrupt a supply line. It dismantled a carefully prepared operational design, erased months of logistical planning, and exposed the fragility of a system that relied heavily on a few critical routes. The engagement demonstrated that in this phase of the war, precision, timing, and integration between air power, intelligence, and electronic warfare could outweigh raw numbers of vehicles or missiles. Today, as the consequences settle across the southern front, the roughly $650 million loss in Russian equipment and infrastructure stands as a reminder of how quickly a single structural misjudgment can unravel an entire operational plan. Ukraine did not just eliminate a convoy or collapse a bridge, it removed time, momentum, and the illusion of rear area safety from Russian forces. Now, in command centers from the local sector to higher headquarters, a difficult question hangs over every map. If one bridge can fall this quickly under a single coordinated strike, what happens when the next critical route is chosen as a target? Share your thoughts and subscribe for more videos like this.